Hi, Masters of the Universe toy fans around the world. Scott ToyGuru Neitlich back for another quick secret look at some of the hidden things in the Masters of the Universe Classics line. Now, I already did a video about Hero. He was our San Diego Comic-Con figure for 2009. And people asked me why I didn't talk about the symbol on his cape. And part of that was because, well, I kind of needed to do my own video just on that, because I didn't want the Hero video to be 20 minutes long, and talking about the symbol on the cape was kind of going to be a subject in its own. So, let's talk about that. So the first thing to say is that the Horsemen did not create this. This was something specifically I asked them to add to the cape after the fact. And there's reasons for that, which that's why we're going to talk about. So, as a quick reminder, Hero was the original 1987 figure that was going to keep the line going, that never came out until Super 7 came out with it in 2019. And yeah, go watch the Hero video for that whole story. I don't need to repeat all of it here. The point is, when we did Classics, we wanted to not only do Hero, but we wanted to tie him in very specifically into He-Man's origin and make him a very important character. In the original 87 line, he was going to be He-Man's ancestor. But that kind of changed when the 2000X line came out and created King Grayskull, who became He-Man's ancestor. So the idea was to make Hero the bringer of the sword that became the orb. And yeah, I know, we're talking about retconning and all of this stuff, but the point is, it was a way to get the story to work, right? I mean, we all love retconning. It always works every time anyone ever does it, ever. Okay, yeah. Well, there was a tombstone in the 2000X series. No, yeah, not this He-Man tombstone, the other tombstone, the one from the animated series. And fans were always asking, well, whose tombstone is that? What is that? You know, that crazy tombstone just on the outskirts of Castle Grayskull. People even made fan customs of this tombstone and sold it at conventions like PowerCon and stuff like that. So, looking at this tombstone and realizing how much fan buzz there was around this mysterious object inserted into the 2000X line, well, basically we thought, well, let's play up on that and let's make that someone's grave that's really important. And, well, who's more important than King Grayskull as far as the origin of He-Man, and that would be Hero. So, starting with the map of Castle Grayskull, and this is kind of like the Secret of the Maps video, this story is sort of told through different panels. So you can see here in the map there is an extended version of Hero's tomb, which was kind of inspired by Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark, with like secret passageways and all that kind of stuff. So this was very deliberately put in because we were sort of telling the story visually through the maps and the comics, similar to the way we told Marlena's story through the maps. So anyway, as I said, back to the comics. So in this one panel where you see Hero giving King Grayskull the Sword of He that's full of the cosmic power, the blue power that was the same as the 2000X orbs, this was sort of the first beat in this storyline. And some fans have put this together. I'm not saying this is like a secret no one has figured out, but I'm more kind of clarifying things. Alright, so Hero dies, he passes away, and during his funeral, it said they were going to build a giant castle in his honor. And, you know, people even say, well, what should we call it? Should we call it Castle Hero? And Eldor says, a proper name will come to us. And obviously this is like a little joke about how it's going to be called Castle Grayskull. But this was to set the first beat in the story that the castle was being built in honor of Hero's sacrifice. Alright, so that's the first beat of the storyline. Then move up a couple of issues, and you have the Temple of Power on Trala, which was supposed to be where the Sword of He came from, and sort of a bigger, grander version of a power temple like Castle Grayskull. You see it in the distance here in the first panel that Axel did, and he actually did a lot of concepts of this. I wish I could find that art. And then we finally had the giant art of the Temple of Power, and you could see it is kind of very reminiscent of Castle Grayskull, but bigger. And that was all done deliberately, incorporating that symbol that you saw on the back of Hero's cape, showing that he was kind of an agent of the Temple of Trala, essentially, and he was an agent of this temple. So this is kind of like, a cultural misunderstanding, shall we say. It's kind of like when one person says something in one culture going to another culture, it doesn't always translate. Or maybe another example is when you're playing the game of telephone, and one message becomes another message when it's goes through multiple people, and you of course get Purple Monkey Dishwasher at the end of that, which basically means the message wasn't 100% clear. So when on Eternia they're building this castle in honor of Hero, they sort of misunderstand the symbol and it becomes more skull-like. So as it's being built, and yeah, I know this is from Game of Thrones, but it's just to show something giant being built, it's not quite looking like the temple on Trala. It's got more of an Eternian influence to it, shall we say. But the idea was that it was inspired by the symbol on the back of Hero's cape, which was taken from the temple of Trala, which was essentially a bigger, more powerful version of what Castle Grayskull was. So yeah, it's a little, well, I don't want to say convoluted, but that was kind of what we were going for. And I never honestly thought we were going to get to actually showing the Temple of Trala. And I was thrilled that we did so in the mini-comics, because that finished off the story beats that were started with Hero dying, and then the idea they were going to build a castle in his honor. So for those who kind of put all the threads together, that was the secret of Hero's cape. He was an agent of the Temple of Trala who came to Eternia, passed away, and when they were building the temple or castle to honor him, they did so with an Eternian influence from the original Tralan design. And that's how you get Castle Grayskull. Pretty cool, huh? Alright, so that was the secret of Hero's cape. If you liked this and want to see kind of more videos with an inside look at Masters of the Universe classics, please do subscribe. When we get 1,000 subscribers, we're going to do some really cool stuff. Alright, thanks for watching.